latest edition of the Inside Track podcast. This morning we've got an amazing guest, Rachel Holmes from Choreography to Go. How are you, Rachel?
I'm brilliant, Ryan. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Been a very long time. And as always, my trusted sidekick, Glenda Rivoallan. How are you, Glenda?
Very good. Lovely to see you both today.
Absolutely.
Really nice to have you on, Rachel.
Thank you.
So just a quick way to get started, Rach, because we like to find out where our guests have been. Now, I've known you for years. I've known what you've been doing. Obviously, followed you for ages, and we worked together back in 2000. But what do you want to run through our listeners in terms of who you are, what you do, what your sort of career is up to now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Rachel Holmes. I'm based on the Nottinghamshire-Derbyshire border. I've been teaching aerobics, inverted commas, since 1986. Can you believe it?
You can't be that old, Rach, surely not.
Oh my God, I know. I really wish. Where have the years gone, Ryan? It's flipping frightening. I started teaching. My mum and dad had a pub restaurant, started teaching upstairs in their restaurant. And I went to a gym in Derbyshire. It's called a spit and sawdust bodybuilder type gym. Just fell in love with aerobics, keep fit, exercise to music. There wasn't even a qualification. There wasn't even a fitness industry then. It was just, this looks like something good. I'll do it. Parents are very entrepreneurial. I saw this as a potential. It was new. It was different. So jumped in with both feet, no qualifications, and just, give it a crack really, and realized I loved it. I love doing group exercise, love being with people, the music, the vibe, the whole thing just captivated me from the word go. My business has taken me around the world, teaching, presenting, educating. I began really when the fitness industry started with conventions at the Loughborough Convention, which was way back in early 90s, late 1980s. Yeah, and just really, I've worked for Nike, I've worked for Red Bull, I've created brands, programs for all different health club chains, from Virgin Active to Holmes Place to Fitness First. I've lectured at all of the major fitness instructor conventions around the world. Yeah, and it kind of leaves me here sort of 35 years later, pretty much doing everything online. I run an education company. We run all the level 2 and level 3 qualifications, which I always knew that the way forward really was online. And we'd created a lot of digital. I'd put an infrastructure together many years ago, sort of 20 years ago, really. I saw that the opportunity fitness was to do more online and use the power of the internet. So fast forward to the pandemic, my business was really 3/4 of the way there. Okay. So when the pandemic came, it was pretty easy really to just switch everything to completely digital. And the training provider, I know a lot of training providers have struggled over the last 2 years, but we've thrived. We've trained more people in Pilates and level 2 and CPD than we ever have in the 20 years that I've had a training company. So it's been a really interesting road. I've seen the highs, the lows, the goods, the bad, the whole thing.
I'm just laughing. We're probably similar in age, Rachel, sorry to say, but I think we are. And I look back when I was 17 at university and I was doing the whole aerobics and just renting out the hall. I used to have a little trailer on the back of my car where I'd throw all the step boxes in. And you know what? I always say to people when I do talks, and you just said it beautifully about, it's a blooming good industry. It's been good to me and it's been good to you. It's been good to Ryan. And there could be a lot worse jobs, right? In terms of the impact that we make. I even remember on the Loughborough conventions and stuff when you were doing the rounds. So we're definitely from a same era. I guess what I was going to ask you is, really, really brilliant that your business just thrived despite the pandemic. And Ryan and I don't really talk a lot about the pandemic anymore because we really like to think that's well and truly in the past. But how would you say the training provision industry is changing, and what would you say is, the big opportunity and the challenge? What would you say?
Gosh, there's both. We've seen a lot of the training providers have disappeared now. Quite a few have finished, which is interesting. I think that with any industry, we've seen it across all sectors. You've got to be prepared to disrupt yourself. You've always got to be looking for the future, what's around the corner, and not just looking for fitness, looking in all culture, all different sectors, having issues. Group X, I think it's been an up and a down. It's sad. I've seen a lot of good friends now, Group X instructors who've now finished and have not come back after the pandemic, have decided it's not the industry for them. But for training providers, there are so many people that want to come into our sector. So many people, if I go to a party or a social event and you tell people what you do, oh, I go to Pilates, I really like to do that. How do you do it? And I think as long as training providers are forward thinking and can embrace digital, and whether they do a hybrid model, some learning online, some learning face to face, I think there's definitely options. I think the qualifications perhaps haven't at the moment, they haven't caught up with how the industry has changed and what actually the consumer wants, and what the consumer is buying into and what the consumer is coming to. But things take time to change. I think the qualifications are evolving. I think there's amazing opportunities, but you've got to embrace social media. You've got to embrace new ways of learning. You've got to embrace marketing to the max. You've got to be on top of your game on social, putting yourself out there like you guys are with this podcast.
Absolutely. That's one of the big things that I always said about, say, PT. I didn't do a lot of Group X. I did spinning. That was about as far as I went. And but the one thing that, and the same as your industry, the one thing that's been a real challenge is a lot of these training courses will teach the basics. This is how you teach. This is how you deliver classes. And so you get these perfect instructors, but no ability to market themselves or get themselves out there. And I guess, have you seen much of that change over there? I mean, I know the sort of work that you guys do, but have you seen much of that changing, or is it still an area that we need to work on?
Massively need to work on that, because most fitness professionals are self-employed. So whether you're a personal trainer in the gym, whether you're Group X, you've got to market yourself. You are a personal brand. Very few Group X, not so much PT, but many Group X are not employed by, they don't have one employer. Yeah. So in effect, they've, their social media presence, what they do, how they operate, their brand is really key. And I think for many instructors, they didn't get into the industry to be an expert in social media. Yeah. That's something that they've had to learn along the way. And for many people, it's not been the right route. It's not what they want to do. So they have gone into they have maybe gone into employment, or they've gone part-time. But for the fit pros and personal trainers that have embraced it, I mean, there's so many more options. Glenda, you were saying back in the day, I had to hire space. I had to cut all my steps there. I had to put an advert in the paper. Now I can do everything from here, and I can reach a global audience rather than a local audience. So there's huge opportunity, huge I see in front of us.
That's amazing. Do you mind me asking? Because in my last couple of projects, Rachel, where I was, owner of clubs before I had the acquisition with Anytime, which, was an amazing story. But something that we really struggled with on the Group X is, at what level is workload going to burn out people? Because the challenge I always had was an instructor would come for work. They'd want a full-time job for security. So when you then pay them full-time, you've got to try and fill the hours. They don't always like doing the other boring stuff that they think is boring, like reception, memberships. So then there's that tipping point that you put them onto 20 classes a week. And I absolutely do see a trajectory of how people can get burnt out, because and I know Group X is really tough. It's a lot to keep motivating the customers. It's draining on the instructor because it's so physical, even although you're meant to not do as much as them. What's the research telling us on that? Because there is a bit of a burnout problem.
Yeah, there definitely is. I think there's lots of different ways we can answer that one. I think we're perhaps looking at the Group X timetable as 45-minute classes, an hour classes, and they have to be this. And I think maybe we've missed the mark a bit in Group X, in clubs especially, with the offerings that we have. There's so many people that are not members of clubs. There's so many people that are not exercising. Yet the clubs seem to focus a lot on delivering the same timetables up and down the country with the same stuff. And this is why online is such a gift for many Group X, because, you know, we can create programs for people with bad knees, for people who are menopausal, for people who are 65 plus. You know, we can create much more bespoke experiences, and the group exercise instructors can focus on the passion, what they really love. You know, if they really love delivering programs for midlife women, great. Let's look at that. What does that look like? It doesn't have to be an hour class. It could be 20 minutes, 25 minutes. It might be a talk. It might be educational. I think we perhaps need to reframe actually what Group X is, rather than what it was and what it is traditionally. And then I think if instructors are teaching what they're really passionate about, you know, we often see in clubs, Group X people or personal trainers teaching programs that they don't really like, that they don't really want to teach, and that's really hard. You get burnt out then when you're not teaching what you're really passionate about. You know, it's trying to put a square peg in a round hole at times.
Absolutely. And did you see much change from, because obviously if we all look at the success, say, the Peloton had originally through the pandemic, and despite everyone training from home and so on, and obviously they've collapsed off a cliff. Have you seen much of that, or have you seen, because of the way you guys have reprogrammed and got people online, and like I say, you're hitting the 65-year-olds and so on, have you seen more of a steady off and continued growth?
You know what, Ryan? It's really personality driven, and it's really regional driven. I think the UK as well, I don't know if you guys find that it's made up of lots of micro markets. It's really, you know, it's different in Manchester to different in Nottingham, and it's different if you live in the country or you live in the city. You know, different needs, different times. Online, I think, has, again, if you are willing to change up your offering, look for the white space. I've got a big group of about 600 fit pros who are all pretty much delivering online, and we're always looking for the white space. The white space for us is beginners, people that are not exercising, people with medical problems, people who would probably never join a club, or they're not there yet, and they're time poor. And it's, you know what, Marion, it's all down to marketing. Every single bit of it is down to the marketing. It's how much, and I don't think people realise the amount and consistency of marketing that you have to do before somebody will actually put their credit card down and buy into something. Takes a lot.
I know we're now seeing the menopause take a real sexy, prominence this year, but I do think that there is a big opportunity there as well, because we know that during that period of time we should be training differently. And I think that a lot of ladies that are going through the menopause like to train with other people that are having the same type of experience, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see that, aren't you? Much more specialist Group X that you talk about, Rachel, and people find them, you know, what makes them passionate. I guess what would be really useful for the people that are listening to this is the fact that people are still saying, no, they're struggling to get people. For the bricks and mortar clubs who really, really genuinely don't just talk a good game, but want to do the Group X, because as I've said before, it can be tiring, it's demanding. What advice would you give to people out there about the recruitment of getting instructors?
Pay. It's got to be
right,
pay.
Let's talk about that. I agree with you. You know, I never struggled ever, because my guys were earning seriously good money. And it's really funny, because I think that they should get paid the biggest money. It's a bit like footballers getting spectators into the stadium. You might whinge that the footballer gets the money, but I'd rather the footballer gets it than the chairman, because the footballer brings the fans.
Oh,
so tell me about pay.
Glenda, you're so true. You know what? I mean, I don't know who this podcast goes out to, so I'll be wary what I say. I've worked for major brands, Ryan. No, you'll know the brands I've worked for. And one of the brands, a massive UK, and I've created programs for this brand. The day before the lockdown, they got rid of all of their sort of freelance instructors. Now, you know, those instructors bring in, I mean, this just didn't happen in Nottingham. This happened all around the country. So short-sighted to get rid of, you know, a whole level of Group X instructors who were, you know, the backbone of a lot of those businesses, who were never going to leave, who were going to be there forevermore. I think that was really short-sighted. And then, you know, coming back after the pandemic, so many Group X went back in early and helped those clubs get back on their feet, encourage members to come. But, you know, not even a coffee, not even a thank you, not even a £2 raise, nothing. In fact, cut back. And I know the industry, has been struggling. It's hard for bricks and mortar, but I think it's false economy in the long run. And it would only take.
They look at it as a pure cost, I don't. I think whenever I go and work with clubs and you talk, we need to, review the time, and they just look at it. It's 25, it's 30, whatever it is. That's a cost. They don't see the value that's coming from the retention, and they see the membership, the revenue that's coming in there. They don't see it being put aside to cover that. It just doesn't make sense. They wouldn't bat an eyelid to hire a salesperson on 30 grand a year or whatever. It doesn't make sense. I'm with you guys. I think the value of these guys, especially if you get someone that's really good. I mean, obviously, if we brought you into the club, the sheer personality we get with that doesn't just live in the studio. It lives in the whole club. Everyone knows who Rachel Holmes is. You go into Rachel's class, I've seen it firsthand, obviously 20 years ago, but I've seen it firsthand. And I've seen it in many other instructors. And you turn up just for that person's class. That person leaves, and so do half your members out the door as well. And yet you're still paying them 20 quid or 15 quid an hour. You're bartering on this ridiculous pay. You're having to put 2 or 3 classes back to back just to make it worth their while turning up. And you're going, guys, I appreciate it's a cost, but your retention is massive. When I was at Marriott, most of our members, so a good proportion of them, did the classes, even down to the aquafit, which, to be honest, I'll be honest, they never got any fit to buy doing it. They just enjoyed the class and they enjoyed the camaraderie and everything else that went with it. The actual exercise, I'm sure it didn't actually have that much effect, but they turned up for it, and most of our members stayed because of the timetable. So we were spending 3, 4, 5 grand a month.
Likewise, Ryan, there are clubs though that report that the Group X instructor doesn't like accountability in the sense of they all want, say they want 35 for half an hour, whether they put 3 people in the class or they put 30. And I think it is about good management who will be strong enough to say, if you're a star, we pay for it. If you're not a star, we don't pay for it, right? It's a fine balance, I guess. It's a challenge, right?
It is a challenge, but it wouldn't take, and it's not even down to pay sometimes, Glenda. It's down to being managed, a coffee, a weekly, a free meal, some free passes. You know what? It doesn't take much. It's just the value. I think Group X teachers feel they've always been self-employed. So they've always been kind of one leg in the club and one leg out the club. They've never really kind of been in, when you and I worked at Holmes Place did it right, and back in all those years ago where we were part of the team, there was a team building.
Well, that was the thing, wasn't it? We included them as part of, so the Christmas parties, all that sort of stuff.
Always.
Everybody came with, and I've seen so many clubs where that doesn't happen. It's staff, and then they're just extras, and you're like, nah, it doesn't work like that.
It does, and it's such a shame but I think the clubs are struggling even more now because those star instructors, the ones that have now gone off and realised, I don't need to take this anymore. I can set up a Facebook group and I can take your members, no problem.
PTs have done the same.
And they're doing it, such a shame.
PTs are training in parks.
Yeah.
So they're not going back to the club. So a lot of the big ones, the pure gyms and people like that would charge £600 a month rent, can't charge it now. So they lost huge swathes of cash simply because these instructors either left to become Tesco's drivers because there was more money and security in it, or they realise that they don't need to be spending this huge rent to train. And I think I can imagine Group X is exactly the same. They've gone, massive. I can hire a village hall, I can do it online, I can do all this. I don't need to be going in there for 20
I think that is single-handedly one of the top 3 risks that our sector faces, actually, is that you don't just have it with Group X, you've got it with PT. You can spend a serious amount of money, and I'm now having a bit of empathy and sympathy here for the club owner because I've been one and I've done massive investment, and then you have an instructor who then realises they can do it in their bedroom, and then because we know it's a people business, can then take your members. It's not just that the instructors often don't get treated right. Sometimes the instructors are doing that to the clubs as well. Yeah. So I haven't got all the answers, but I think that's a high risk to our business.
Yeah. But it would only take, Glenda, communication, open communication between the management and the Group X to come together regularly. There's no communication in clubs. There's very little. You just come in, you go out. You know, the management move on quite quickly in a lot of the chains. So you don't often. Again, back in the day, I'd have a relationship with the manager. I'd have a relationship with the gym manager. I would know what was going on. But the management, again, the turnover is quite high. So you don't build that, and you're not in the club enough to build the relationships with people so much anymore, which is a shame, because I think for Group X, it's good to do the mix, you know, couple of teach in a club, maybe do your own community and do a little bit of online. You've got a really nice business there where, you know, it can all fit together. It actually all feeds, you know, people come online, then they go to the gym, etc. But we are losing a lot of Group X instructors. We are losing them to other sectors, like you say. There's a lot of hospitality jobs. Where I live, a major employer near me is Rolls-Royce. They've got very attractive, you know, jobs where you can work 9 till 3 and get, you know, you can get a nice, nice salary. And why would you put yourself through all this, you know, for very low pay?
There's definitely a message there. When I was at Spa Life, the conference last week, I was quite stunned when some of the spa professionals were telling us that people are leaving to work in a factory because it's more money and less tiring, right? Because you don't need to motivate people. So I think there's a major message there that if you're going to do Group X, you've got to pay the right money and give them a culture that is going to make them want to stay. I think that's a given. Rachel, I wanted to sort of do a wee bit of a question to you around where I see the sector going. I know that Ryan's very aware that I've essentially, as part of my business, we now offer a health and wellbeing improvement diploma, because I feel the fitness industry's got a huge opportunity to do more in the wellness space, yeah? And actually, I think the Group X instructor is so well positioned to help people with lifestyle and habit change and do classes, which for me would help with the burnout issue, because for a professional development perspective, you could have a Group X instructor maybe down at 15 hours a week of practical classes, but then you're topping them up with the wellbeing coaching. So we've developed the diploma with the Royal Society of Public Health, and we've also got the Recalibrate Wellbeing Programme that we basically train people to deliver. I just wondered if, like me, you really see the industry taking a grip of wellbeing, because I feel like if we don't take it, well, it's not going to sit in a GP surgery, because we know that they had that opportunity for a long time and didn't take it. I just wondered what your thoughts are. Do you think you're going to see that explode?
100%. You are absolutely singing from my hymn sheet for sure. This, again, it's the white space. It's the white space that we're looking for. Well-being, wellness, habit change, habit stacking, simple 10, 15 minutes. This is a lot of the guys that are doing really well online are creating these very simple programs, which are in essential, just basic habit change week after week, 50-minute classes, stretching, mobility, low impact, that doesn't look like a Les Mills class or a hardcore HIIT class. It's something much softer, very, very appealing, very, very appealing. I'm totally with you on that. I think that's a big open space for Group X because of their personality skills, their people skills, and people will keep coming back over and over again for them.
Well, that's something that you and I should chat about, Rachel. I'd love to pick your brains on that a lot further. Nice to hear that, Ryan, that we're all on the same page there. You know, I think that we're going to see an acceleration in that space.
Oh, absolutely. I think wellness and fitness are just made to work together. But I guess it's someone finding a way of making it profitable. And I think once you can encourage the people to see it as a profit, it's like anything. GP referral never worked because there was no profit in it for private clubs. That's the simple reality of it. It landed in leisure centres because they were obliged to, in a sense. but private clubs at Holmes Place, as David, there was no money in it, so it never really got off the ground.
Yeah.
In terms of the industry rates, now obviously you guys do a lot of training. I mean, 600 people working with you is amazing. Do you work closely with like EMD UK? We had Marcus on, and obviously he was doing a lot of work around trying to grow Group X. Do you guys do a lot of work with those guys, or do you find the industry a bit like I do sometimes, a little bit too scattered?
It's all
don't really have a coordinated approach as to what we're doing.
Yes, totally. No, I don't do any. I have done in the past with EDM and SimSpa. All our courses are regulated by SimSpa, but I have very little. I'll be honest with you, Ryan. I have very little to do with them. They don't have any, much impact on what I do and what we do. Yeah. I think instructors on the ground, it's another cost, it's another membership, and they, a lot of group exercise were stung, and I say that in inverted commas, by this reps. They all join reps, and we all hope for big things with reps, and reps collapsed, and there's so many costs for a Group X. If you do this as a part-time, it's a blooming expensive hobby. Yeah. It's bloody expensive. Cost for this, cost for music, cost for licenses, insurance, group, and it's another cost. And I think in the past, Fit Pros were looking and thinking, I think they really did want to get behind a lot of these organisations, but sadly, the organisations have been full of promises and not delivered a lot. And then people think, well, what is this? How is this benefiting me? Which is a shame. We've also lost our major sort of conference. We used to have the Fit Pro conference every year. Yeah. Fit Pro have gone in a different direction.
Body Life was an amazing conference.
Yeah,
you love that.
And I went to the event, which was in London a few months ago. Where was that one? Where we went on the Victoria line to like an industry.
I know the one you mean.
That was like Leisure Industry Week.
I know.
Was that like Elevate or whatever?
Yeah, Elevate.
I think it was, yeah.
Very, very small. Very, very small. And also, the Group X, there's a lot of great talks on there, but it was very London-centric, a lot of the big sort of London chains. So it's just so different in the regions. So, I mean, AMD are doing a lot of good stuff, but again, it's just another part of the industry. It's very fragmented. I think people now are just basically, getting on with it and doing their own thing.
It's a shame, isn't it, that people feel we need to. And I'm with you. I have been for ages. I thought reps, even from the start, was a load of rubbish. I thought it was designed. I'm quite open about it. I think it was clearly designed to make money for the training organisation. So it probably work for you now, if you know what I mean. But it was designed to force people down the route to take training rather than actually improve the industry. And I felt that was the wrong way. So that you had to have so many CPD points, and it was just a one load of rubbish because it didn't actually necessarily improve the standard. All it was doing was people just going, I need a course. So they were getting the cheapest course to get the points, and away they went. And that's what it was. I didn't agree with it. So we've got too many, I think, with SimSpa, UK Active, and there needs to be a coordinated approach, I think, for us as an industry to go forward and to really make an impact with government and everyone else. There needs to be one central point to go, this is who we are. But unfortunately, there's a few too many egos and a few too many people in the way. Probably I've said a few people that way, but a few too many people in the way that would have to step aside for one organisation to come through the middle. And I mean, let's be honest. UK Active look like they're making changes. They're bringing independence in a little bit more. But it's still dominated by the pure gyms, by the banner type, all those big organisations at the top. So it doesn't really make a difference to anyone at the bottom. So yeah, there's still a lot of changes needed. So I guess while you've got an organisation with 600 people underneath it, it's fantastic because you can influence 600 people, which is brilliant. So.
And the new people that come in, I invest a lot of time and energy into marketing and bringing new people into doing the qualifications. So, we've got a real strategy of bringing new leads in, and it works really well. All the courses are very full, very busy. And going back to Glenda's point with wellness, Pilates is probably one of our number one. Level 3 Pilates is our number one qualification. And I mean, it's a costly, it's £1,000 for the qualification, and there's no shortage of people from outside the industry who are coming in to do that course. And then seeing the potential with Pilates, there's so much potential with that qual. It's a good qual, really good qual. And people can do community, they can do in clubs, leisure centres, they can set up, they can do it online. And it's just really hitting the mark at the moment. But I agree with you, Ryan. I think these organisations have got to help Group X instructors. They need to be navigating. If there's a recession coming in the next, unless it's here, there's a recession. So where are they? Where are they? Why aren't they helping? Why aren't they, helping instructors navigate this very difficult sort of period of life that we're all going to be going through in the next few weeks, months, years? Nowhere to be seen. No help from anyone. It's just, and I think instructors see that and see that there is, what's the benefit here?
Yeah, right. And just in terms of how your organisation works, obviously you do a lot of qualifications. Do you want to talk us through? So if anybody's out there looking to get into this, what is it you guys? Obviously you're doing the Pilates, which is fantastic. What other stuff do you guys do as an organisation?
So my business really it's called Cobra to Go. So I create programs, brands, CPD workshops. I teach 3 or 4 different workshops for instructors every week on Zoom. I have a big pool of instructors who've been coming to me for like the 30 years. Many have been following me for a long time. The group that's 600, they are mainly more entrepreneurial fitness professionals who are teaching hybrid online. I do daily business coaching with them, help them navigate social media, marketing. And that was all set up within, I did some work with Facebook with, I became one of their sort of creators. And I have a Facebook sort of membership, which is called a supporter. So they pay a fee. It's only £3.57 a month. And everybody joins, and then I do business coaching in there. So it's a really proactive community, in there. And then from that, I do a lot of sort of business, marketing, branding.
That's really
social
good.
Media. Yeah. So it's a good, it's a tiny fee, but it covers my time and energy and effort and expertise of the group. And you get people, when people pay, they pay attention, even if it's tiny.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I always used to think, gosh, even in the PT quals, the business module would be the smallest module at the end. Yeah, it's going to be everything when they come out the other side, right? So it's really lovely to hear that support is actually out there, for people. And I think that we really need to get that message out there, Ryan, about the importance of what Rachel's doing from a support perspective for people.
Absolutely, and obviously we'll get Rachel's details at the end of the podcast. So if people want to get in touch, they can do. And are you still going around the world teaching, Rachel? Are you still
well, I was. I was. I've got a little boy now, Ryan. So I've got a 6-year-old, and I'm a single mum to Logan. So I don't travel as much, but we've gone back to doing the retreats again. So we're back doing the week-long retreats in Ibiza. We do Fuerteventura. I've done a few weeks this year in Turkey.
Mike, then?
No.
No.
How lovely. That's really good. Nice to know that travel's back open, right?
I mean, that's another market,
I was just about to say that. Absolutely. All these Group X instructors who have a community could have an event once a year,
And you can work it around your family. You can take a group. You don't have to take them to Ibiza. You can take people to the Lake District, to the South Coast. Airbnb makes up.
Come and visit me.
Yeah, where are you? Whereabouts are you?
Jersey.
Whereabouts? Oh, in Jersey, of course you are.
Yeah,
we'd love to.
Come and visit me.
We'd love to. I mean, for Group X, it's pick an idea, whether you want to do fitness holidays, retreats, whether you want to take, corporate. There's a massive opportunity using LinkedIn. You guys are the masters on LinkedIn. I mean, it's something I don't use as much. There's so much wellness budgets for, all kinds of different businesses, all different ranges for Fit Pros Group X to go in and create nice presentations and, pitch human resources. I mean, it's pick an idea. It's pick an idea, I think now. The only thing that limits people is ideas and time. You just got to send 100 emails and you'll get 10 responses, just do the research.
It's amazing how much the hard graft. Sorry, Glenda. Amazing how much the hard graft still works. Though I still do it for my business now, sending out regular emails on a regular day, whether that's through LinkedIn or standing emails. They do still work.
100%.
It's got to do social. Got to do social. Well, yes, but also do the old school, because it does still have a massive impact.
Oh, definitely. It's a bit of everything. Old school, live events, meetups, social media. It's got to be sort of everything, really. But yeah, I mean, there's. When I started like you, Glenda, it was literally walk door to door with a leaflet. I think this is an absolute.
I remember it well. It was like,
this is easy. I sit here in my slippers.
It's so true. When you think back now, we've got such an amazing opportunity. It's so true. And I think what's just jumped out today for people out there is just, your passion is still there after all that time. And I think that, the message that you're giving people is really inspirational, Rachel, that, they can grab this industry with both hands. I know that Ryan's very aware that I feel the same about wellness. I think that is such a huge area that we could be doing great work in from a behavioural change, habit change perspective. Okay. And I just sort of, my last question, guys, because I know that I've got to go today quite soon, but I've got one final question for you, Rachel. Uh-huh. What would you say is going to be, if you had a crystal ball for the next few years, what's coming? What's the trends that are going to be hot and what's not?
Definitely programming for menopausal women. It's massive. This has been bubbling under for the last 4 or 5 years, and it's just blowing up right now. Yeah. So if you've got a program for menopausal women, now's the time to launch it. Yeah. White space, creating programs for people with medical problems, people with bad knees, pelvic floor problems, postnatal.
That's a brilliant piece of advice.
Oh, it's niche. Create a bit, and it doesn't even have to be a different program. A lot of the same programs will fit different demographics, but it's the marketing, how it looks. It's got to be a brand. It's going to have a start date, a finish date. It's going to be a proper program. People are looking for a straight line. Yeah. I want to get fit. Tell me how to get fit. Okay, join this program. A 6-week program. You do this every day. This is this. There's the accountability. That's the brand. This is your leader. She's going to be checking in with you. That's what people are looking for. They're looking for a straight line approach.
Any idea, Rachel, anything on the research telling you about the length of program that's, where it becomes too long?
Oh, that's harder because we are living in a TikTok generation, aren't we? Everybody wants everything like quick tomorrow. I think, this is my personal perspective, and what I'm seeing is hook people in with shorter programs, but then there's an additional. So it might be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then there's an additional. So rather than saying, join me for 6 months, you're just never going to get people. It's too overwhelming, too much, too costly. Let's just see the first 3 weeks. Let's get you doing that. Great. Next thing, here's your next project. Here's your next, and it becomes a staircase, I think, fitness.
Another great piece of advice. Ryan, any other final question for Rachel?
Just a couple for me. Do you think we'll ever see the reintroduction of step aerobics and do you think that's coming back?
Maybe with the menopausal lot, because the menopausal are me and Glenda. So you get a lot of women that used to do fitness back in the day and remember that vibe, that buzz, that feeling. There's a lot of retro.
Ryan, I kid you not, you need to come to Jersey, mate. Why do you think I jumped back in and did clubs? Because I was like, what? People still not want anything other than legs, bums and tums and step. I mean, seriously.
Put legs, bums and tums on their time table the other day. It nearly fell off my chair. It's
massive.
Legs, bums and tums is still massive, but I can tell you now there's loads of clubs in Jersey that still do step.
Yeah, and there is locally. A lot of the leisure centres still do. Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? One final question, Rach, before we let you go and enjoy your day. I always ask my guests or our guests who inspires you. So I try and say not your family, because the family's an easy one to say such and such and such, because they are. My dad's an inspiration, my mum's, you know what I mean, and they are. But is there anyone either in the industry or that you see that still goes, they really inspire me to do what I do?
Oh my God, there's so many people. Oh gosh, who do I look at? Oh my God, I love listening to Stephen Bartlett's podcast. I find that very, very inspirational. I love Gary Vaynerchuk. I love his marketing, his complete energy, enthusiasm. I love a guy called Simon Squibb, who's an entrepreneur who is trying to get people to start businesses. He's really interested and inspiring what he's doing. Who else do I like? God, who else do I look at in the fitness industry? I always have a look what's going on with IDEA and the Americans, have a look what's on their timetable. But we're so different with the US. The US and the UK are very, very different, and the markets are very
Especially
different.
Group X, I can imagine we are.
Yeah.
As clubs, it's very easy. You put the kit in and you deliver in that sense. But with Group X, it's a personality thing. So I can imagine what's working over there doesn't necessarily transpire over here as much.
Yeah, I doubt it is. But I still like to look at the convention and what they're doing. This is the last few years, the first years I've not been.
Ursa's still massive and love a big party, you know.
Yeah,
I think we should all head out there next year.
We ought to. I'd like to go.
Absolutely. I think that I just want to make a final comment that anybody out there, we're really privileged to have you, Rachel, still doing this work. And I know anybody that turns up and does one of your courses is going to be all the better for picking a great provider such as you. So thank you massively for all your contribution to the industry. And we need more Rachels, Ryan.
Absolutely, that's just good fun, which is always helps. So really appreciate your time today, Rach. Obviously we will definitely get you on again in the future, but enjoy the rest of your day and we will chat soon, I'm sure.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Thank you very much.